Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest Liverpool transfer news update. My name's Dan Clubb, and I'll be here for the next 25 minutes or so to take you through the latest news surrounding the Reds. Now that the transfer window is officially open, it's been open for not even 24 hours, well, 48 hours essentially now. And yeah, it's still very active, let's just say. We are alive and kicking in the transfer window. Liverpool, of course, have already signed Alexis McAllister, but such is the unquenchable thirst for transfers these days. Yeah, you just want more and more and more, don't you? So I'm going to talk through one particular story. I might touch on some others as we go along. Everyone knows at the minute the biggest story in town remains Khephren Thuram. There's been, I suppose, a slight update on that situation from France this morning. There's a little bit of Gabby Vega stuff I can see you all talking about in the comments as well. I can see you in the chat. I can. Please get involved as we go along in that chat. Have conversations among yourself. Ask me any questions that you want as well on the way. But yeah, I'm here to talk to you about Ryan Gravenberch. And for Dom Dewsbury, who asked where we seen that story, who's reporting that we're still in for Gravenberch? I don't see it anywhere on Twitter. He said in interviews, the only one's guaranteed game time, we wouldn't offer that. Well, I'll tell you where that's been reported. It wasn't actually on Twitter, as you might not believe. It was 90 Min that reported this just yesterday. They said that Ryan Gravenberch reveals transfer plans amid Liverpool interest, much like you alluded to. He has revealed that he will look to leave Bayern Munich this summer if he isn't guaranteed game time, and it says Liverpool lead the race to sign a midfielder. Now, further down within this, it does pick up on his interview, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, but it says Liverpool target Ryan Gravenberch has insisted that he intends to leave Bayern Munich if he isn't guaranteed game time next season. The midfielder signed for Bayern during last summer. He's had a pretty poor season. I'll go through some of the details of that in just a second. There's a The Telegraph interview, which I want to talk to you about as well. But just at the bottom here, it says, 90 been reported back in April that the Reds are interested in a loan deal for the midfielder, and that remains the case. Can't see it being a loan deal, to be honest. And it's also confirmed that West Ham United, Newcastle United, and Tottenham are keeping an eye on Gravenberch's situation too. But as things stand, the player prefers a move to Liverpool. So yeah, that's what we're here to talk about. A little bit of Ryan Gravenberch. Now, I've also seen people mentioning Gabby Vega in the comments. I did see Fabrizio Romano stuff this morning. No real solid update on that. It was essentially Romano saying that Liverpool really liked the player. We know that. I think just 2 days ago, I think it was Steve sat here and did a show on Liverpool's concrete interest in Gabby Vega. He has a release clause with Celta Vigo. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Maybe there is something to be done there, but let's just wait and see. But for now, I'm going to talk about Ryan Gravenberch. The real deal. All right, Dan, my old mate. How are we doing? I knew a guy called Chris Greeley who used to go by the real deal. If that's you, please let me know, because I would be fascinated to say. What is it with people on Twitter, by the way, this morning, before I move on? Hello. You know, like, Twitter isn't the only place you can get news. Like, I love Twitter, don't get me wrong. But it's people are talking as if Twitter is it, like the be all and end all. I don't understand. Like, there's loads of places you can get your news, guys. Like, absolutely loads. D Rose says Gravenberch isn't leaving Bayern. False news. Well, on that, I think you might be surprised, to be honest with you, because, like I say, he has done an interview very recently with The Telegraph, which I'll come to now, actually, before I move on. Because I think if he isn't given assurances, there is a chance he'll move. I'm just going to read this out to you. I copied it down before. So speaking to The Telegraph, this was this week, about his frustrating first season at Bayern Munich, Gravenberch revealed that he would want to leave the club this summer if he isn't guaranteed more game time. He said, I had expected that I would get more chances and minutes than I eventually got. I had done very good preparation and thought I deserved it. I just want to play more, preferably at Bayern Munich, and otherwise at a club where I play 100%. That's my preference, because I don't want to have another year like the one I've had now. One like that, one season is good. I really learned a lot, but I just want to play football. So I don't know how you can take from that he will never leave Bayern Munich, or he has no interest in leaving Bayern Munich. I think there's a serious conversation to be had, quite frankly, between himself and Thomas Tuchel before anything is decided, quite frankly. So I want to talk about how he might fit at Liverpool if that deal does confirm, or if it does come to fruition, of course. And you guys are more than welcome to tell me how you think Ryan Gravenberch would get on as a Red. But before we get into some finer details, I want to show you a quick clip from my conversation with David Lynch about Ryan Gravenberch, which was recorded yesterday and is available now on Redmen Plus.
rides on the conversation he's ultimately going to have with Thomas Tuchel about what his plans for him are next season. That's the key factor here. And when we report, for example, that Liverpool are taking stock at the moment, and people get frustrated. Okay, well, why haven't they got the targets? Why don't they know? Why aren't they moving quickly all the time? But there are things you can't control, and this is a really good example of them with Gravenberch, is that he doesn't know whether he's going to be playing at Bayern next season, and if he isn't, he's going to demand to leave. So once that conversation, is had, then Liverpool could maybe make the move if it falls on the side of Tuchel, maybe saying, I don't see you as a major starter next season. Then he will want to make the move to Anfield, and I think Liverpool will want to hold on there as well, because Gravenberch isn't just some midfielder who they admire. They've liked him for a long time. They obviously know that statistically fit the profile in terms of what they need in certain position in midfield, and it would be really ideal signing for them. I think they were quite gutted to miss out on him when he went to Bayern. So I think hanging on there and seeing if he can do that deal sort of makes sense for someone who you think is so ideal for you. So I think that's again, just one you've got to hang in there and see what his conversations with the Bayern manager end up producing, and then maybe he ends up at Anfield, because I think it would get to the stage, I think, if Bayern told him that he wasn't going to be playing a significant role next season, then I think he will be all over a move to Liverpool, because he's fully aware of the fact that they really like him.
Hi, yeah, that was myself and David Lynch just yesterday. So I think for me, the Gravenberch deal did feel like one that it's got a lot of hurdles to jump, and it still does have in many senses. But I think people just dismissing it as a non-starter is a little bit presumptuous in many ways, because as David Lynch himself said there, Gravenberch would be open to the idea of joining Liverpool. Liverpool definitely like him. We courted him while he was still at Ajax before he made the move to Bayern Munich. So I think if Gravenberch does have that conversation with Thomas Tuchel, and it turns out that he doesn't get the assurances that he wants, and he's going to want to go and play first team football somewhere, whether we could offer him sort of exclusivity in the midfield is a different question altogether. But if we can offer him a higher level of action than what he's seen at Bayern, he actually started 3 games last season in the Bundesliga and didn't complete 90 minutes once in that time. So you can understand where he's coming from, having been such a leading role at Ajax, to go to that little football. You can understand why he might want to sort of angle for a move away. I don't want to say he's forcing for a move, because that hasn't happened yet. But listen, if the conversation does happen between him and Tuchel, and it's decided that he will stay there, I've seen people saying that Bayern will be reluctant to sell. Of course they will. They signed a player, not even 12 months ago, who they obviously have a lot of high hopes for. But end of the day, they've also just signed Konrad Laimer, another midfielder there. The midfield is relatively settled. If Gravenberch becomes available, I think he'd be stupid to suggest that Liverpool weren't going to be very much at the table. And that's what we're here to talk about. We're talking about Ryan Gravenberch as a possible Liverpool midfielder. So before we go into some of the finer details of Gravenberch, Clarence Worley, down while you're not watching the Ashes, I have been doing, mate. And I believe as I came downstairs, we lost our second wicket. But yeah, it's been a busy morning of Ashes. England have been particularly enterprising, let's say, in their play. But there's no surprise there, because, let's be honest, that's Bazball these days. That's the way they go about it. And Clarence also returns with, he prefers Gravenberch to Thuram, better footballer. I think it was Andy van der Meijden recently, or if it wasn't him, it was another former Dutch international, said that Gravenberch was actually better than Bellingham, would you believe it? Which is a remarkable thing to say. But yeah, I want to go into some details about Gravenberch then. So I just mentioned there, last season, he made 33 appearances across all competitions for Bayern Munich, scores once, provides 1 assist as well, plays 6 times in the Champions League, 24 Bundesliga appearances, and like I mentioned just a moment ago, just 3 starts, and didn't complete 90 minutes at any stage. And he played predominantly 26 times as a centre midfielder, a little bit as an attacking midfielder, and also a little bit as a defensive midfielder, which kind of highlights just how well-rounded his game is. We would make a lot of sense. I'll just move on to his overall career stats now as well. You can see there, he played 103 times for Ajax before moving on, which is a lot for somebody so young, of course. Scored 12 times and provided 13 assists along the way. So, for somebody, a lot of those appearances are obviously made up by youth football. That's quite obvious to see. But for somebody still so young, he's only 21. He's actually played 7 times for the Dutch national team as it is. For somebody so young, he's actually got a decent level of football behind him, which we know Liverpool like to see. They like to have a decent sample size on which to base their judgment, and Gravenberch actually has that. So it's pretty obvious to see why Liverpool will be keen on him. And I also wanted to show you this now. anyone who's a regular watcher of these news shows, and in particular the ones that I host, will know just how much I love FBref. And FBref on this occasion gives us some interesting comparisons when it comes to Gravenberch's stats over the last 12 months. Some of the names on that list, I mean, we'll recognise all of them, of course, but some of them particularly stand out. And probably the main standout one now, arguably, is Khephren Thuram, because according to FBref, Ryan Gravenberch is the fifth most like Khephren Thuram, or the other way around, if you want to call it that, in terms of stats over the past 12 months and what they've been able to produce. Alexis McAllister is also on that list. And in seventh is Jude Bellingham. There's also the likes of Youssouf Fofana from Monaco, who I know Liverpool were tentatively interested in earlier on this year. Aaron Ramsey tops the list as being the most similar player to Ryan Gravenberch, which is really interesting. Aaron Ramsey on his day, let's not get it wrong. Like, Aaron Ramsey on his day was a brilliant footballer. So, yeah, some good names there. Even Rakitic appears, but yeah, Alexis McAllister down at number 10. And of course, Khephren Thuram, who I think, let me know in the comments who we'd like to sign most of all. I think we'd all be in agreement it's Khephren Thuram. I agree with you as well. I really do. I think he's the next one. I hope he is the next one. Like I said earlier, there's been a minor update from France regarding Thuram, is saying that he's been seduced by a Liverpool project and Liverpool are stepping up their interest. But really, there's absolutely there's nothing concrete in which to base the judgment on right now. We know we like Thuram. We know we like Gabby Vega. And we know we like Ryan Gravenberch. I think the Gravenberch one especially, I think it honestly just hinges on that conversation between him and Thomas Tuchel. I really do. Much like David Lynch said there, I think if that conversation happens in the next week, for argument's sake, and Gravenberch doesn't hear what he wants to hear over the table from Tuchel, I do believe there will be a genuine chance of him becoming a Liverpool player. I just do. I think it just makes a lot of sense for us to go and do it. We've done business with Bayern Munich in the very recent history. Thiago deal, Sadio Mane deal, obviously. So, yeah, let me know what you think about Gravenberch, because a lot of you are saying it might not happen. Maybe it won't happen. But I want to know if you even want him. Do we like him? Do we think he fits the profile? For me, I really do think he does. Somebody comments here, actually. I'll just bring that up. Jacob Weddle says he'd still go for Thuram. Yeah, so would I. I do think Thuram is top of that list, but Liverpool need to be smarter with their list this time around. Too many times in the transfer window now, we've had a target, and if we don't get that target, that's us, done. We've seen it last summer with Tchouaméni. We want Tchouaméni. We go for Tchouaméni. We don't get him. We end up signing Arthur Melo on deadline day in a panic. Previously with Van Dijk, yes, it works ultimately, but we want Van Dijk all summer. We don't get him, so we don't get anyone. And then we go and get Van Dijk in January, and like I say, all is well with the world. But this time around, such is the drastic need for midfielders, we just can't get this window wrong. We simply cannot fail this summer. So, yes, Thuram probably is top of that list, but it's pivotal that the people below him. Now, below Thuram is probably more likely to be a Manu Kone, I would imagine, somebody of that ilk. And when it comes to Vega, when it comes to the likes of Gravenberch, maybe it's Vega ahead of Gravenberch. And if we go and get Vega, sound, we don't need to get Gravenberch, but maybe it's Gravenberch ahead. And if he says to Bayern Munich, I want to leave, and they're willing to facilitate that move, maybe we go and get him instead. Yeah, I'm just speculating. I'm just talking for talking's sake. Mo Mohammed says, Thuram and Gravenberch both want to progress the ball, and Thuram does it in a way higher number. Thuram also puts up better defensive numbers despite advancing the ball so much. Yeah, I'm not going to talk down Khephren Thuram, not one little bit. Not one little bit. I think he's brilliant. I really do. And I want him to become a vet, quite frankly. So that's fine by me. Mo Mohammed returns with, do not forget that Gravenberch stats is only 830 minutes, so stats are inflated. Yeah, fair point as well. But there's some interesting stats there, some interesting names, regardless of the minutes. And you're right to bring up the minutes. I've made the point already about Gravenberch not playing loads of football, so it's absolutely a valid one. Jacob Connor says, Alex Miller, investment new, Dan. I'm just going to go on Twitter and try and find that while I'm talking. Alex Miller, does he work for the Daily Mail, I want to say? I know he's like a freelance finance reporter, and I know he's reporting on the investment stuff previously. Let me just have a look while I'm talking here. If I can find my man. I don't think it's that Alex Miller. Let me just double check. No, it's not. Different Alex Miller, that. I'll try and find it for you anyway. But yeah, do keep letting me know what you think about Gravenberch while I'm trying to find this. And feel free to tell me to stop talking nonsense. And he's no good. There we go. I found it. Let me have a look 1 second. Let me get it up. Just as a nice little segue. Is that the first tweet? Yes, it is. Yeah. So I'll bring it up. You can bring this up, Tom, now, yeah. So this is Alex Miller regarding Liverpool investment. Well-placed sources maintain that several investment options remain on the table for the club and that a deal is expected to be completed over the summer. Okay. Let's talk. Sound. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing. It's weird, isn't it, the investment stuff, because it's gone so quiet for so long. Like, it just felt as if it was not, it hadn't been shelved necessarily. It always felt like it would still be going on in the background. But when it got announced, I think it was October, November time, about Liverpool and FSG seeking investment or even a sale, as it was led to believe at the time, there was so much news about it in the weeks that followed. Like, I spoke to Dave Powell from the Echo, the finance editor there. It was just a constant barrage of, it could be that group, it could be that group. Will it be private equity? Will it be Middle Eastern money, etc., etc., etc.? And then for like the past 2 months, I want to say, there's been absolutely nothing on it until today, just until I started this news show, essentially. What perfect timing that is. Alex Miller, who does work for, he's a sports finance journalist and he's the money columnist in the Mail on Sunday. I thought it was the Mail, but he also works for the Mirror, the Sunday Mirror, the Daily Telegraph, and FC Business. Okay, Alex Miller. I might give you a message after this. We'll see what happens. I will try and speak to Dave Powell on that as well, and that'll all be Redmen Plus stuff. I speak to Dave a lot. He's a good man, and he knows what's going on when it comes to Liverpool and investment. And for what it's worth, I'll get back to why I'm here in a second. I hope that happens. Of course I do. It would be ideal before the summer, or sort of now, because obviously we need the money now and we need the assurances. Having said that, if FSG are confident that investment is coming further down the line, which is what Alex Miller is reporting there, then maybe they'd be willing to loosen the purse strings a little bit more this summer and spend an extra 15, 20 million on a player, not just overall. I know you're going to go mad, on a player to get them through the door. That'd be fine by me as well. If they can be confident that they're going to get the money they want, then sound. Eric Sevenhag, nice, says, bless up, Redmen. Yeah, bless up you too. Bless up you too. A couple more comments here. Got sidetracked by the minutes. Hugo Santos, so we need a 6, not another 8 like Thuram. Yeah, I think we probably do need a 6. I think we're still holding out hope that Stefan Bajcetic will be able to cover a lot of the Fabinho minutes. I know he's going to be missing a start, I think, of pre-season because of the injury that he picked up, which is a big blow. But Bajcetic is brilliant. We shouldn't write him off in terms of his quality. He's a superb footballer. The Gvardiol deal returns. What about Caicedo? Feel like we have missed out an opportunity here to do a double deal with Brighton. Yeah, possibly. I know he's edging closer towards Chelsea. It seems like I think Arsenal pulled out of the race yesterday. I'd love Caicedo. I think it would make a lot of sense. As you mentioned, we've just done a deal with Brighton for McAllister. So we'd have a connection there between the clubs and indeed between the players if that was to happen. Financially, I don't think he's going to cost the earth. So, yeah, I did wonder whether Brighton would try and make up for their shortcomings, if you like, in a way, on the McAllister deal by sort of adding an extra 20 million onto Caicedo, but it looks like they might not do that. So I'd love us to go for Caicedo, I would. And on the point about needing the 6, he would obviously fit that bill. And I do think we need one. I think whoever Liverpool sign now, in terms of midfielders, I want it to be 2 more, of course. I think one of them has to have the capability of playing as a 6. I really do. Because I don't think you can rely on Fabinho, a really young and currently injured Bajcetic, and Jordan Henderson. I don't think you can rely on those 3 to be your 6 option. I think if we sign someone like Khephren Thuram, who started out life as a 6, he would be perfect because he predominantly would play in the 8. But if required, he can drop back and do the other role as well. I think that would just make loads and loads of sense. Nath Man says, "Our going on Twitter for news, damn." I don't know what that means. I assume you're referring to me saying that Twitter isn't the only place for news. Oh, you have corrected yourself below. Yeah, I assume you are talking about me going on Twitter for news. Yeah, I did say it was not the only place for news. So it is a place for news, but it's not the only one. So when you all, well, some of you said that where you're getting the Gravenberch stuff from, I can't see anywhere on Twitter. I just made the point that Twitter isn't the only existing place on earth. The 120 million for Caicedo. JD74. I mean, no, that's more than Jude Bellingham. I mean, they are definitely trying to make up for their losses on McAllister if that's the case. Good Lord. That is a lot of money. fair play to him. I'll bring up a couple more comments anyway. Chris Pike, any word on Timber? Yeah, I spoke to David Lynch about Timber a little bit yesterday, and he hasn't had much encouragement on that deal, to be honest. It's a player I really like, but it does feel, and this is essentially what David said as well, that we're going to prioritise the left-sided one. I think we're backing Matip to stick around, possibly Joe Gomez stick around as well. Konate is obviously the preferred option in that role, and I think we're going to go and sign a left-footed option if we are going to get any defenders in this summer. Josko Gvardiol would obviously be the ideal one when it comes to that. Micky van der Ven is definitely a conversation point on that also. Gvardiol would just cost too much money, and unfortunately, it looks like he's heading closer and closer to Manchester City, which is grim, properly grim. Anyway, Neil O'Callaghan, Super Chat, €5. Top man, Neil, you're getting involved a lot in these, my mate. I appreciate it. Liverpool are the fourth richest club in the world. Why are we penny pinching like we are a mid-table team? If we want these players, buy them. Yeah, I agree with you, mate, to the point about if we want these players, buy them. Absolutely. And I think, listen, when it comes to penny pinching, we know what we do now in the market. Like, we've seen it often enough. We have spent a good amount of money in the market, and I know I'm going to get hung from the nearest lamppost for saying that, but it's true. It ends up being true. I did see a stat yesterday. I think we're edging on for like 250 million in the past 18 months, with like 50 million recouped on that. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and praise FSG from the hilltops, because I'd be lying. I'd be lying to you. I'd be lying to myself. They haven't spent enough money. Last summer's transfer window was an absolute disaster. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was abysmal. It truly was. There's lots of people at fault for that. This summer window has to be so much better, like so much better. I can't emphasize that enough. It's been a good start. I think people are getting too panicked by the fact that McAllister's come in, and we've heard all this Thuram stuff. We've heard a little bit of Vega. We've heard a little Gravenberch. We've heard, other names being floated about. We haven't done anything yet. I do think there's reasons behind that. Thuram could be Nice, not willing to sell. Nice probably want a bidding war on Thuram, to be honest. Plus, he's in the under-21 Euro squad. We know what the deal is with Gravenberch. You already spoke about it. It's him needs to have a conversation with Bayern, because his preference is to stay there. That's the way it is. But if that conversation falls on the side of, we can't give you any promises about your football, I do think Gravenberch, he said it. I don't need to justify what I'm saying. He's already said he will leave. And I think at that point, Liverpool could well strike, like they just could. And somebody else makes the point as well. Before we get into an FSG rant in the comment, can we not? I just don't have the energy for it. It's Friday. It's sunny. It's Jurgen Klopp's birthday. It's Jurgen Klopp's birthday. Can we not have an argument about FSG in the chat while it's Jurgen Klopp's birthday, please? And Wicked Juice raises the point. Plus an 80 million newsstand. Yeah, that's good. They have done a brilliant job with the stadium. I was going to make a joke about how the newsstand can't play as a six. It can't, but yeah, that is also good news. And yeah, like I say, hopefully we do get some new. Hopefully we do get some new investment, and that means FSG can spend a little bit more freely this summer. I'd love nothing more. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't want us to spend money, because I just do. Anyway, some more comments. Wiser and happier. You should all be that. Follow Wiser and Happier's example. Expect Liverpool to spend 150 million mark. It's going to be signing 2 rookies in midfield and 1 decent player, a defender. I actually wonder if it's the other way around. I think we definitely sign 1 youngster in midfield. Right now, as things stand, as I'm sat here, I think we're going to get 1 like Thuram, who's like 22, played a decent amount of football, and 1 slightly younger, which it could be Gravenberch or Vega. That's my belief. Maybe Lavia. I probably throw Lavia into that mix as well, who I didn't mention before, who can play as the 6, of course. So possibly him, because I did speak to Lynch about him as well. And if you want to check out that show, it's on Redmen Plus. David Lynch is boss. He's just boss. He just tells us how it is. No pretenses about him. Just says what he thinks, says what he knows, says what he's heard. And he's good. And to the point, Wiser and Happier, I think we'll sign a young defender as well. I think we'll sign a young defender. Jake O'Connor says, hey Dan, check out Keito Nakamura link series play. I've seen these links from the Daily Mail. It's a new one on me, to be honest with you. He's at LASK in Austria, I believe, isn't he? And I don't have anything in front of me even giving me clues on that, so I do know. He had a really good season last season, 22-year-old attacking midfielder. And my main sort of issue with him, not issue, that's not the right word, my main sort of, that doesn't make sense with him, was the fact that he plays attacking midfielder, which is fine, and he could also play as a left winger. Like, if there's one area, apart from goalkeeper and right winger, Liverpool have got nailed down, it's the left wing. We don't need anyone else who can even do a passing job out there, quite frankly. So, yeah, let's leave that. Mike Andrew, thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate the credit for that joke. I thought it was good as well. I really did. I'll bring this comment up. Arjan George says, where are Paul and Chris? Chris is working from home. Paul is back on Monday, actually. I'll tell you that. He's back on Monday. So you'll be seeing his face on these as well as mine, Chris's, Steve's, and Chloe's. Yeah, Paul will be back. Just want to bring up a few more comments as we start to wrap up then. Let's have a good old chat about what we're doing. You seem like you just want to talk about Liverpool's plans. You don't talk about Gravenberch, do you? Roberto Beruffi says, Thuram not a number 6. He did start out life as a number 6, actually. He was a number 6 to begin with before. I think it was actually this season where the new manager, I think Christophe Gaultier, or it was Christophe Gaultier before, forgive me on that, moved in further forwards, and he has been playing more advanced this year. But to begin with, predominantly he was a 6, so he could definitely do that job still. Mo Mohammed says, thoughts on Arda Güler, Turkish wonder kid, 18 and 40 million leagues. Yeah, I seen his report coming from Turkey. Fenerbahce, isn't he? Played in the Turkey Super Cup just on the weekend, and I think he was brilliant. I can't remember, he got an assist and a goal, or 2 assists, something like that. He was absolutely superb anyway. And yeah, I think Turkish wonder kid is absolutely the right way of describing him. I've actually seen him called the Turkish Messi, of course, previously. Great player. I wonder whether all these attacking midfielders, and you could probably put Gabby Vega into this bracket as well. I do wonder whether we're actually going to go and sign one. Now, I could be absolutely miles off of here. Just the only reason I say it is because we've just gone and signed Fabio Carvalho last summer, and we're already talking about that hasn't worked, and he's probably likely to leave in some form, maybe on loan, maybe as a permanent transfer. We know RB Leipzig are really keen. We've also got Harvey Elliott. We've also got Curtis Jones. We've got a really young Bobby Clark as well in the academy if we want to go that far. Are we going to go and sign Arda Güler, for instance, another attacking midfielder, really young, really talented, obviously, but is that like something we're likely to go and do in a transfer window that's so important? And I know it's only £14 million. I get that. So you would just say, oh, it's not big money. Let's just go and do it. But then he comes and sits on the bench, Trevor, and 12 months down the line, having the same conversations that we're having about Fabio Carvalho now. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a fit to me. And I could say loosely the same on Gabby Vega too. I could. I really could. Anyway, some more comments before I do wrap up. Somebody asked, what about the fixtures? Yeah, I think, John, I'm not a big one on fixtures. I know we did the fixture show yesterday, but we do play everyone twice. I think the start's tough, really difficult away games. Of course, we've got Wolves last game of the season. Just of course we have. Perhaps some revenge there for the old title. And Manchester United and Arsenal just before Christmas and Anfield, their boss. I like them. Roberto Buffy returns. Thuram prefers to play to the left, so does McAllister. Yeah, I did touch on that in a show recently. It wasn't on here. I think it was on Plus with somebody who I can't remember. Yeah, he does like to play on the left. But yeah, I'll tell you, it was your expert, it was Alex Barker, who I spoke to, and he was of the opinion that it might actually suit Thuram more to play on the right side of the 8 role because he's actually looked quite uncomfortable from the left. He's done a good job, and he's actually really impressed in France in Liga, of course. But when he's got to the final third and it's come to providing the assist or even the shot, because he's on the left-hand side, it hasn't suited him. But being on the right-hand side, he was of the opinion that he'd have better angles and it would actually be more natural for him. So, yeah, quite possibly. CF 1337 asked, Dan, what do you think about us getting Bastoni for left-sided centre-back? Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Is there a petition I can sign to make that happen? Because, yeah, make that happen, please. Just make that happen. Last couple of comments now. I've said that a few times, but this genuinely will be the last couple of comments. Mo Mohammed says, Griezmann is available for less than £20 million. Should be a no-brainer for Liverpool, despite his age. He's coming off his best season as a player in the league with 15 goals and 16 assists from an advanced 8. He has changed role, hasn't he? I remember him in the World Cup, he changed role a hell of a lot. And a brilliant player. But you've said it there, despite his age, man alive. That caveat of despite his age is a big caveat. Now the age, the price is brilliant. He's a bargain at that price. Don't get me wrong. For that quality of that price, sound. But I would have reservations about Liverpool going and doing that deal. Much as I had reservations about the Chiesa stuff the other day, because he's just so injury prone now. He's had such a hard time with injuries. I hope it's past it. I really do. And I hope he can kick on again. But for Liverpool, it doesn't make an abundance of sense, and neither does Griezmann. David says Gravenberch will be a good signing. I tend to agree with you as well. I don't think he's top of the list, but I think he's on the list. John Thomas says Ryan is worth a punt. I think he's worth more than the punt. And if you didn't see the David Lynch clip before, David Lynch spoke about Liverpool really liking Gravenberch when he was at Ajax, let alone the Bayern stuff. So I think he's worth more than the punt. I think if he became available on the market and he wasn't 60, 70, 80 million pounds or something ridiculous, quite frankly, I think Bayern paid like 20 million euros for him. I think Liverpool should be all over it. I really do. I think if he becomes available, we should be absolutely all over it. Mike Andrew says Gula is the next big one. Dan, lad. Yeah, he might well be. And listen, if Liverpool need to get rid of Carvalho, for want of a better phrase, and to reduce Curtis Jones's minutes and Harvey Elliott's minutes to sign this lad and to block the pathway like to Bobby Clark, then sound, absolutely. It doesn't feel like a Liverpool thing to do to me. But if we see the opportunity as being so good that we just can't avoid it, then I'm here for it. I really am. I'm all for Liverpool signing an abundance of footballers and dealing with them as and when we choose. But yeah, I just don't know if it's a deal that we're going to go and do. Limping Monkey says Griezmann's got Newcastle written all over it. Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that as well. Right, I think that's all good. Yeah, cool. I was going to come back full circle then and just tell you what the news was, and then I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, the news was Liverpool reportedly, come to 90 minutes, still lead the race for Ryan Gravenberch. There's a big conversation coming further down the line for Gravenberch and Thomas Tuchel at Bayern Munich. He has spoken this week and said if he doesn't get assurances over his playing time, he will be looking to move on this summer. And should that be the case, Liverpool will be there, ready and waiting to strike. So yeah, let's all hope that happens. Let's all hope that Liverpool do confirm a new sign in the next couple of days so we can all calm down a little bit. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Chloe will be back on Sunday to give you the latest Liverpool news update. And I will see you all next week. Take it easy.
Our new 3-part Bobby Firmino Best in the World documentary series is dropping this June. And if you go to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend yearly subscriber, not only will you get access to all those shows and the extra content, we're going to send you codes for 2 free pieces of Roberto Firmino merch. Grab yourself a mug, grab yourself a tea, and put your feet up and watch the best documentary series this summer.